Today I'm gonna have a few words on the forms installation and some issues with the Outlook retrieving of archived emails. So yeah, let me start. So one of the most common issues with the archived emails when working with archived emails is that when you open an email, it actually doesn't show up either attachment or body text of the email. So basically email, it's not complete. So let's say after we open an email, you see there is missing body and no attachment present. So usually this is associated with no error. So no error message or anything like that that would tell you that there is a problem. So how to find out, what is email? I mean, basically archived email is a shortcut, is a single line of text that represents the email. However, it's not email itself. So user perceives it as email, but actually it's just a blank or shortcut to or pointer to an email. So after user double clicks an email, the forms actually needs to reconstruct the email, so it does put together all the pieces of the email, such as body text of the email, attachment, the header, and so at the end user perceive it as email. These forms that are needed are being stored, or actually are organizational forms and are being stored in public folders. So here, basic troubleshooting steps for to see if the forms are present is actually to find out where the forms are and if they are present. So first, you need to extend your view for the developer icon, where you can actually see what forms are present and if these are working. So you go to customize ribbon and you need to extend your menu for the developer. So after that, you get this option at the top here, and here you can see or verify what forms are present. So we go design forms, and we see that, all right, the organizational forms are present. Usually that means that you have public folders available. However, no forms are inside. That means no form can be used during the open email. So how to get these forms published? For that, we have a tool in our archive manager. It's called Form Installer, and it's being located under Program Files and Metallurgics. All right, Forms Installer. So here you trigger Forms Installer feature, and that will walk you through the basic forms installation. So we go next here. Next. Yeah, you select all the options available. All right. Yep, these are all pre-checked and we need them all. So next step, and here you put a server name, archive server name, or retrieve server name. You can put the same name in both columns in case you have just one archive server. But if you have a retrieve server, it's good to put one archive server name and retrieve server name. And we go next in this dialog as well. I'll get to this point SSL later. We go next install, and yeah. So what we want to see here is all these OKs. So that means each form has been published, and how to verify that the forms are present, or where to check forms are there. We go back to design forms, and we should see some forms published in organizational forms library. All right, so this is what we have just published. To verify, or let me show you what actually how does form look like, and what is good to check or view. So you just double click the fourth one, the fourth PAM message here. All right, so this is actually expected error. In this case, we need to create a new Outlook profile, as Outlook was running during the forms installation. So I will cancel this and create a new profile for Outlook. Yeah, we can call it test. All right, so we go to the same place now. All right, so this it opened a blank form for us. We go to the view code, and there we see some details that are quite important. So here you basically verify the name of the archive server that has been published. So one is for archives, the other one is for retrieve server. And the next thing to check is or that this line right here tells you if you or your client are using HTTP or HTTPS protocol for opening up email. So this is just for you to double check or verify. And now where these forms are located on the server. So when on the Exchange server. So as I mentioned, these are stored on the Exchange server in public folder database. So let me connect to the Exchange server. This is 2010 Exchange server. So we go to the Exchange console, and there is a toolbox. We open the public folder management console. All right, so we go to the system public folders, and there are a few important checks you need to go through. So basically, organizational forms is the hive where we do publish forms, and one of the important thing here is we need to verify that the user we use, the service account, is actually owner of these forms. So we hit properties for the forms that has been created, and we need to make sure we are owner of these forms on the server. So we go owner mamadmin, that's my service account. So yep, that's good. And so that's for Exchange 2010 location of the organizational forms. Just in case you don't have organizational forms present yet, so in the case you need to create these organizational forms on your Exchange server, there are a few commands that I will put these on the screen that needs to be run. Actually, you can make a screenshot if you have time. You may use these commands for creating forms and assigning appropriate rights for these. Also, these commands are listed in the our guide for installation guide. So yeah, you can find them documented in MetaLogic's documentation for installation. So that's where forms are. And what are the most typical troubleshooting scenarios related to forms? Where to look at, or what to do when you want to check or fix any issues with the forms? So one of the most typical ones is or you should always check the presence of forms here in the tools, file advanced, and custom forms. So it's good practice to, when you go manage forms, you clear the cache, so that sort of flush the old forms that has been stored somewhere in the past and somehow are conflicting with the current or up-to-date forms. So you can clear the cache. That's one place to look at. Another one, most common, is when you go to Trust Center, is that the Outlook is designed sort of ban or deny forms by default, where there is a setting for that, and you should always allow scripts in shared folders or scripts in public folders. In this terminology, script basically represent our forms. So yeah, so you're basically allowing forms in public folders and shared folders. That's next place. And last one would be that's really individual. It may or may not be the case, but yeah, it's a good place to go and look at when you go send receive groups, define send receive groups, and edit. Right, and you basically turn on or allow synchronization of forms against the archive server. So basically you allow client to synchronize forms with the archive server. So that will be probably the most typical issues with the forms installation. I also mentioned in the case that you use HTTPS protocol for the company, or your company policy says that you need to use HTTPS. That's being actually set during the forms installation, where I run a installer again. All right, so we go next, and here this option I mentioned before. This actually allows your users or your clients that are outside the LAN or outside the company and trying to connect to archive server. So once you tick this option, you can use HTTPS protocol for creating or retrieving an email.